Hello, Tiffany Ridge Timberwolves. Today we are going to draw a horse. Hopefully you have learned about Henry Rousseau and his famous jungle paintings, and we're going to get started with our horse lesson today. So get a paper, a pencil, a Sharpie if you have one, and we're going to start. All right, so we're going to do our horse with his little leg kind of pulled up a little bit, and you can do it differently. If you want to pause the video and go find some other videos on how to draw a horse, I'm going to show you a few that I've done already. We're going to start here on the side of his head, and we're going to make the eye and then the chin, the jaw, and all of those parts of the horse. So think of some ideas and ways that you might want to draw your horse. This one's kind of fun too. And then I'll talk to you a little bit more about the background. So we're going to start on the right side of the paper, and always remember to pause your video. Make a light line that's a little bit diagonal. We're going to curve that line around and then back for the nose. The bottom part of the mouth is going to come back around, and I add a little bit of a curve line right there for the nose. Next, I'm going to do the eye, and the eye is just a simple dot with like a darker dot in there, and you can add that later. You can kind of go back and adjust it. The jaw is going to be kind of right underneath the eye, and a very light curve line, because you might adjust that later. So I'm going to make these lines kind of come up and connect. The ear is going to be up here. You can add another line inside of there to make it look like the inside of the ear. Okay, so this is going to be the front part of the chest. It's going to start here in the middle of this curve line and kind of come down, and then we're going to adjust it when we do our legs. So we're going to make that line slowly curve. Make sure all your lines are nice and light, because you can go back if it's light and just really easily tweak it and adjust it a little bit to make it match the size of your horse, and just to make those lines a little bit more the way you want them to look. This part is called the crest of the horse. So I'm going to start here on the ear and very lightly draw a very curved line. This is a super light line. We don't want to make it dark because we're going to go back and erase a lot of it. And I'm going to make that line curve back into just the back part of my horse. So this is the curved part of the crest, and then the back, and then this also curves down into the hindquarters. So I'm just really keeping my pencil line light just to get that motion of the line that I want and the look of the line that I want. This horse is looking kind of big. Sometimes my horses are small and sometimes they're big. This one's looking big. So this is going to come down. I'm going to make a little teeny bump here. And then this is going to come down further for the foreleg. This is the hindquarter. This is the part of the horse that's a little bit thinner. I'm going to make this line start right here, sort of in the middle of the hindquarters. Aim your line towards that little bump and then curve it down. Go ahead and pause the video whenever you need to. The hoofs, looks like my hoofs are going to be right here at the bottom, and sometimes they are and sometimes they aren't. So on this one I had a little bit more space. It depends on how big you draw your horse. We're going to make a little teeny bump there. It's called the sesamoid. And then we're going to make the hoof. On this side, we're going to make the first leg. This leg, it's pretty thin, but there are a few little bumps in there for the knees. So right about here, I'm going to do two curved lines, and I want them to kind of curve and get a little bit thinner right about where this bump is right here. Then I'm going to make this line just come down straighter, and I want this hoof and this hoof to be the same level. So now I'm going to make another little bump for my hoof. This line I'm now going to connect into this leg. I'm going to skip over that and then go all the way back to this line. These lines are going to overlap, so it looks like this leg is in front of the body and this leg is in front of the body. That gives it the feeling of space. Next, I am going to add the line for this leg that's kind of kicked out a little bit. I'm going to make this line come out. I'm going to curve it back down, kind of pointing towards the hoof. And I'm going to make another line that's kind of a copycat line. I want to try to make these two legs about the same thickness. I'm going to make another curved line and then make this come down. Again, I want to try to estimate that this length and this length are the same. And then this hoof is going to be off the ground a little bit, so I'm going to make a little bump there for that sesamoid. And then you're keeping all your pencil lines nice and light. I might want to erase part of this part of my horse later in case I want something else on top of him. All right, next I'm going to make the back leg. So like on this one I added a couple things to my horse, but this back leg is going to be behind the horse on the other side. So I'm going to start here, make your copycat line, come down. This leg is going to be a little bit shorter because it's farther away. I'm going to have another little small line back there, and then this leg or this hoof is a little bit shorter. So now I've got the basics of my horse drawn. The fun part I like are this hair part. So I have lots of different styles. I kind of sometimes do these curlicue styles. Sometimes I have one that's like a Trojan horse, and I just made some straight lines. This one kind of has a lot of those really wavy lines. This one has some smooth lines. This one kind of has its hair blowing back in the breeze. So if you want to pause it and get some ideas on your own, you can. I'm going to do just a simple curve line. So I'm starting on that crest. I'm making a nice smooth line down and then just coming back up very smoothly, not really hard. Nice smooth line down, and then that's going to touch. All right, so I'm going to continue to do that, kind of overlapping some of these lines. When they come back, they're going to touch the line before it. So it looks like this is a nice thick mane. I might have some more lines over here. Maybe you want something kind of on its front of its head. And then this part where it overlaps the crest, I want to erase that. That's why we make sure that we draw lightly. And if you drew too hard, it's going to be a little bit hard to erase. So just make sure you draw lightly with your pencil. That takes practice. All right, now I'm going to draw the back part, the tail part. And again, you can do your tail differently. This one, his tail's kind of blowing in the breeze. So I'm going to start right about here, make a nice smooth line, and then you are going to make your tail. I'm going to make this line kind of cross over. And I actually overlapped this part. I didn't mean to do that, but I think it looks kind of nice. So right now, since I can see that this part is overlapping this part of my leg, I'm going to make sure that that part is erased, because it's overlapping, and when things overlap, it makes it look interesting. And that is your horse. So at this point, I want you guys to go ahead and pause the video. This is usually 1 day lesson. So if you got this done for your art lesson today, that is fine. You can pause it, get some ideas, and come back to it next week. And then we'll talk about background. Okay, for your background, I want you guys to add lots of details. Things that are farther away from you will be smaller, and things that are closer to you will be bigger. So think about things that you maybe want to draw on your horse. They don't have to be realistic. They can be something that's like a fantasy. You can make a unicorn. This one's kind of fun. This is like a picture of a sort of a war horse. You can see I've added some interesting details. This one I haven't quite finished coloring, but this is more of that unicorn style, and those are kind of fun details to add. This one I added some wings, so that's kind of an interesting thing to do, and I added lots of hills in the background. This one is one of my favorites because it's more of like an Arabian horse, and I left the horse white on this one, so it really makes it stand out. So all of these different types of horses, I want you guys to add details to, and then when you're finished drawing, you are going to trace everything with a Sharpie. Now I have a thin Sharpie that helps me get those small details. So when I'm tracing, I'm going over my pencil lines, and that makes all those pencil lines really stand out and makes all those shapes that I drew just that much clearer. Obviously, once I'm done tracing, that's going to take a while. I'm going to erase any pencil lines that I can still see. I don't want to see any of those pencil lines. And then the color pencils are going to be what you use to add your color. So colored pencils, I think, work the best. You can use colored pencils in a variety of ways. You can use your pencil to make it a nice dark value, and that color stands out. And then you can also make it lighter by lessening the pressure of your pencil. You can create a nice light value, and that creates some contrast. So if I want to have a dark value next to a light value, that will make those two colors really stand out. And then I used watercolor color pencils. You guys used these last year. Watercolor color pencils you can probably find in the Hobby Lobby or Michael's or art supply store. And after you've used them, you add a little bit of water with a paintbrush, and it kind of blends the colors together. So I did that for part of my painting. I haven't done that on this one. But if you don't have watercolor pencils, that is okay. When you're finished, please upload your picture and show me your artwork.